Adakah bayangkan ketiadaan sumber makanan untuk kelangsungan hidup? Dari manakah datangnya sumber makanan ini? Ya, tepat sekali. Sumber makanan datangnya dari hasil sektor pertanian, iaitu melalui penanaman, perladangan, perikanan dan perhutanan. KDNK Sarawak 2018 menunjukkan prestasi sumbangan sektor pertanian sejumlah 16.5 bilion ringgit terhadap pertumbuhan ekonomi negara. Bersama saya di Bual R&D pada kali ini, saya Qistina Donna Lee Abdullah. Bersama saya di studio adalah Dr Fauziah Abu Bakar, pensyarah kanan di Faculty of Agriculture, Science and Forestry, Universiti Putra Malaysia, Bintulu Campus. Selamat datang, Doktor.
Ya.
Kita merungkai tajuk pada hari ini iaitu From Bench to Field, Genetic Engineering for Agriculture. Terima kasih kerana Dr Fauziah sanggup terbang jauh dari Bintulu ke Kuching pada hari ini bersama kita di rancangan Bual R&D TBS. Ya. Ingin sekali saya bertanya dengan Dr Fauziah iaitu di dalam bidang ini, di dalam bidang pertanian ini sinonimnya memang kaum lelaki sahaja, tetapi Dr Fauziah mampu juga berada di dalam bidang ini sebagai satu kerjaya. Mungkin boleh cerita sedikit sebanyak ataupun berkongsi bersama kami.
Okay, buat pertama sekalinya, let me clear this first. Bidang yang saya berada pada waktu ini adalah dipanggil Agricultural Biotechnology, where it is an area of agricultural science yang melibatkan, saya boleh cakap pertanian moden. Okay? Now, apa yang menyebabkan saya nak berada dalam bidang ini sekarang is because being an agricultural biotechnology, I can feel that it doesn't only helps to improve crop productivity dekat luar sana, meningkatkan mutu makanan, crop yield, but also in future maybe can helps to solve global food problem. Now, kalau tak silap pada zaman 1970s, kita ada isu di mana misconception, non-recognition wanita dalam kerjaya bidang pertanian. Tetapi itu zaman dulu. Sekarang kita dah berada pada era 2020 and next year is moving like 2021. So I don't see that there is any more gender inequality in this field. You see? So men and women should play equal role in this agricultural science area. So I do see that both women, men should cooperate, work together untuk memastikan bidang pertanian kita, especially di Sarawak, di Malaysia, berjaya.
Ya, gender equality.
Yes,
semuanya
correct.
mesti haruslah sama. Saya melihat sedikit sebanyak background Dr Fauziah di mana your expertise is on the molecular cloning, and plant biotechnology. So probably doctor can explain a little bit further on your expertise area.
All right, I try to make it very layman's term,
Yeah.
Okay, plant biotechnology is actually a bidang where you are inserting or you are introducing a special characteristic from one living thing into another living thing. So in this case, we masukkan dalam tumbuhan, dalam plant system. So melalui genetic modification, that means we modify the genetics, we modify the DNA. DNA is everywhere in our living things. So what do we do is cloning, pengklonan, sangat sinonim pada masa kini. Pengklonan, cloning is part of genetic modification. So the whole plant is actually being modified to improve the current trait, current characteristic. So by the end of the day, kita akan ada, for example, tumbuhan yang tahan rintang kepada penyakit ataupun tumbuhan yang boleh improve its quality yield. Pada masa sekarang pun, kita ada banyak plants that have been genetically modified and they do have the characteristic that I mentioned earlier. Kita ada tomato, ada corns, ada apa lagi, terung, banyaklah di seluruh dunia. Okay, so all these plants bila dah dimodify secara genetics, for example the tahan rintang penyakit yang I sebut tadi tu, so bila ada that characteristic, bila the insects come and eats on the plant that has been genetically modified, the insect will die, not the plant. So it's another way around. So this is what I can say is a special characteristic of plant biotechnology. When I was doing my PhD, I was pretty much involved in cloning, whereby I actually clone a toxin gene from a human pathogen, Streptococcus pneumonia, yang menyebabkan pneumonia pada manusia. So I clone that toxin gene dalam plant system. So why do I do that? Okay, because the toxin gene eventually can be used untuk menghasilkan plant yang boleh digunakan dalam biocontainment in the future. So that's the reason why I choose this and why I'm so much interested in the field.
Right.
For
So
now.
tumbuhan ni pun seperti manusia juga ya.
Yes,
They will need
betul.
antibody to
Yeah.
make themselves secure from the insect and things
Yes.
like that. So we don't need really on racun dan sebagainya lah.
Betul.
Ya. So our topic today is very interesting, Dr. Fauziah.
Okay.
From bench to field, genetic engineering for agriculture. Catchy ya, saya melihat di situ. Probably doktor can perjelaskan lebih
Now,
lanjut.
when I first thought about the title kan, I was like wondering macam mana I nak translate the title to a very general terms, especially to our audience out there. Apa yang saya buat pada research. And there comes the title, From Bench to Field, Genetic Engineering for Agriculture. Now, the terms itself, from bench to field, which mean when the work first started in the lab, when we were cloning, when we were doing cloning, where we were developing a transgenic plant ataupun plants that has been genetically modified. So once all these plants are ready and then have already been cloned in the lab, we are ready to bring the plants to the outside field. And kita nak tengok sama ada tumbuhan yang kita create dalam lab ini, dalam makmal ini, boleh digunakan oleh masyarakat kita pada zaman akan datang. So that is a general topics. General idea on how I come about the titles.
Okay, very interesting. So it's actually you test it first in the lab.
Yes.
Then only you will try it to the real field.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
This I would say also helping the community in
Yes.
terms of growing the plants and things like that. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll talk more on the genetic engineering for agriculture. The topic is really interesting to me. Tetapi kita berhenti seketika, jangan ke mana-mana. Kita bersama Dr. Fauziah di studio Bual R&D pada hari ini. Talking about the genetic engineering ya. Selain daripada membuat kerja di makmal seperti lab test dan sebagainya, adakah penyelidikan ini melibatkan satu-satu community ataupun satu industri?
I would say my research sekarang hanya still pada beginning of the research. But in the future, there will always be a plan untuk bawa whatever research that we have introduced dalam makmal ke kawasan lapangan. Di mana kita akan introduce kepada community slowly. But before we can even jump into that situation, we have of course work and collaborate dengan beberapa plantation sector industry dekat Sarawak, I would say, because sekarang kita berada di UPM Bintulu campus. So before we go into all that process, kita start daripada lab dulu and then back to our field dekat UPM itself and then slowly dengan kerjasama dengan R&Ds and finally baru introduce to the community ataupun our masyarakat.
So your research is very in a stage, a preliminary stage.
Yes.
But after this, sure you will have to test it at the other,
yes,
at the
correct.
community and also industry. Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of doing this research, you will have to have a grants and also funding. Yeah. So daripada manakah ataupun apakah potensi grant yang Dr. Fauziah pernah dapat ataupun telah pun dapat?
I would say I'm still in the early phase of my research, like I mentioned earlier. But Alhamdulillah, and I'm very glad that I managed to secure a grant given by MOHI, Ministry of Higher Education, to initiate the project. So the whole project has just started last year. So now we are still in the process of cloning, in the development of the stress tolerance plant ataupun transgenic plants. So I would say pada masa hadapan, once these plants has been created successfully, kita akan slowly bawa keluar. So besides the current project that I'm working it now, I'm also having collaboration, kerjasama dengan R&D dengan researchers from other universities in different projects. For example, kami sekarang tengah mengkaji penyakit pada terung asam very on indigenous fruit vegetable in Sarawak. So that is one specialty. Second, kita also study about environmental stresses plants, where at the end of the day, kita nak produce ataupun kita nak menghasilkan a plant which can tolerant ataupun which can hidup dekat kawasan yang extreme environment, such as kawasan high salinity ataupun kawasan yang dry, kemarau and all that. So there will be a future plan.
So when you go for a future plan, you will need more grants.
Yes,
I
correct.
believe that.
Yeah.
So by doing this research, any limitation, challenges that you face, or probably I would say opportunity that you will face in terms of make sure that the research itu berlaku dengan bagus lah.
Alright. Problem, limitation. What else? Challenge
Yeah.
is always a very common things in doing research. And I do agree. I myself is also having all these obstacles, especially in this year, 2020, when all of us are facing pandemic COVID-19. So most of my research has to be put on hold at that moment during MCO when the MCO was just introduced. But I would take that as a challenge. Okay, and then slowly sekarang kita dah back to track. Kita dah slowly initiate balik the research. And we do see that whatever challenge yang datang pada masa lepas ataupun pada masa depan, kita akan jadikan dia sebagai panduan lah untuk pada masa hadapan, jadikan kita punya research lebih bagus and lebih berjaya.
So with this pandemic COVID-19, it is you still doing your first stage. It is good that you do it in the lab, kan?
Yeah.
Kalau kita sudah
Yes,
pergi keluar
that's
tu,
the thing.
you will have to, deal with so many other
Yes,
obstacles. Yeah?
Betul.
So selain daripada limitasi dan peluang, apa tadi saya nak kata? Opportunity kepada komuniti luar sekiranya mereka mengambil projek ini.
Okay, community, kalau kita nak introduce this project to community, one thing we have to maybe introduce them, educate them. What is so special about plant yang we have dengan plants yang they all tanam, kan? So kita kena bagi tahu that we are using a very own technology, agricultural biotechnology, which uses scientific tools, scientific techniques, and then boleh menghasilkan plants yang boleh tahan rintang kepada penyakit. I always say this to my people, to outside people. Okay, because they faham, oh okay, kita boleh menghasilkan tumbuhan yang boleh tahan penyakit. So they do not need to use pesticide in the future. So indirectly, community akan start to buka minda. Okay, dia akan buka minda and open-minded to receive, to accept this kind of research to be brought outside. And from there, kita slowly akan educate and teach them how to bring these types of plant to their plantation. Okay, dengan suasana, dengan dia punya environment. So macam
dengan itu kita membantu sedikit sebanyak impact kepada komuniti setempat ya di kawasan Sarawak especially.
Yes.
Kita akan membincangkan lebih lanjut lagi berkenaan dengan genetic engineering, tapi kita haruslah berehat seketika. Kita kembali lagi bersama Dr. Fauziah di studio. Just now we're talking about the genetic engineering. So you have talked about your grants and also some of the funding to fund this particular project. Then the outcome, now we're coming to the outcome. What are the selected publications or conferences that you pernah buat sebelum ini lah?
Okay, I would say publication is always priority for a researcher ataupun penyelidik. Okay, why do we need publication? Because that is how we tell the findings, our results to other people out there. Now, conference pun similar. Why we go to conference? This is where we share our results. And so far, I've attended a few conferences for this particular projects. And especially in this year, walaupun this year agak special, so all has to be done online. It's also a good experience to me because I have to attend a conference online. Tapi for other findings such as a very specific one, we are aiming to produce this, I hope by the end of next 2 years, where we can come up with our own transgenic plants with enhanced characteristics, such as, again, I would say disease resistant, for example. So yeah, that is the plan for now. Yeah.
So many publications also conferences because of this year COVID-19, everybody is online.
Betul.
They are doing their conferences pun semua online.
So, semua online.
What about pattern? Have you gone through for pattern?
Yeah, pattern, why not? If I'm given the opportunity in the future, I will go for the pattern. I will be happy, more than happy to accept this.
It is very important.
Yeah, it's very important actually.
Because when you want to come up with a new cloning that you said,
new
in
technology.
biotechnology, pattern is a must.
Yeah.
So what is it the potensi yang boleh dieksploitasikan kepada future researchers? What do you think in this particular area of your study?
We are living in Sarawak, an island of Borneo, a place like no others, kan? So kita ada banyak biodiversity, very rich in biodiversity with all the floras, faunas. So I would see a lot of potential dekat sini. For example, there are banyak indigenous crops, tanaman-tanaman yang kita tak pernah dengar, which have yet to be explored. So I do see the potential here. and we can work together because satu Sarawak kita ada our own higher institution. Kita also ada research center. So all this we can work together, we can collaborate untuk menghasilkan kajian yang baru yang tak pernah dicuba pada luar sana lah, menggunakan kita punya biodiversity. So that is our specialty. I think we should try on that. Yeah.
So you work together with Biodiversity Center? You work with them?
Yeah, in the future, yes. There is a plan to work with them.
But for now, haven't. You haven't
Yeah, because I've just started.
Right.
But there is always a grant funding in the future that I will opt for. So to work with them.
You mentioned just now that you work together with other universities.
Yeah.
Any universities yang macam University Malaysia, Sabah, was that UMS? Do you work with them?
In Borneo, I've yet to collaborate yet but I have few potential few universities that I work with dekat Semenanjung lah, kita ada from University of Malaya because I was actually from University of Malaya. I did my PhD there, so I have some connection dekat sana. And I also have some kita panggil swasta, IPTS, so Quest International University. One of the researcher is also my partner in doing the research. So kita ada few other collaborations as well to run few other projects.
Collaborate with other universities.
Yep.
That is a must, right?
Yeah,
now
that is a must.
In the institution. So talking about this topic of genetic engineering tadi ni, so probably doctor can conclude the topic that we've been talking about today.
Okay, as a simple conclusion from my side, I would say that we all know that Sarawak is very rich in biodiversity hotspot. In fact, one of the hotspot biodiversity in the world. I can say that. Okay, so kita kena guna peluang yang sedia ada untuk terokai flora and fauna untuk buat kajian yang baru. That is one thing. Second, genetic engineering still sound very strange to other people out there. But I would like to take this opportunity untuk memperkenalkan, why not, para petani kat luar sana, kita cuba benda yang baru yang boleh menghasilkan crop quality better crop quality in the future, and also to enhance disease resistant ataupun improve crop yield. So dengan menggunakan teknologi like I mentioned earlier, like genetic engineering, kita boleh praktiskan pada tanaman kita di Sarawak, for example. Okay? Sebab kita still tak ada di Sarawak, if I'm not mistaken. Tapi di luar Malaysia, I think di luar Malaysia, there are few potentials, there are few projects going on to produce the plants using genetic engineering. It's very common to people out there, outside Malaysia. Why not we bring it here to our own state? Okay? It will somehow tolong kita punya masyarakat. So I think it's a good potential.
It's also in the US, kan?
Yeah. US a lot. Yep.
Yeah. Dah banyak, very commercialized.
Betul.
Yeah. So we're talking about this, what we call that, the one that you said, sebagai awareness to the community, especially we wanted to help them.
Betul.
Kan? So with this new genetic engineering, mungkin diorang boleh mengeluarkan lebih banyak output daripada tanaman.
Yes, dia ada banyak lagi output yang boleh dikeluarkan, tak semestinya penyakit je. Maybe you can have baka yang lebih banyak menghasilkan buah-buahan, for example, you don't know. There are many others actually.
And there also hybrid, ya. Ada
yes,
saya cloning tu yang lebih bagus, dia punya
actually,
rasa lebih manis.
Sekarang kita menggunakan kaedah conventional breeding. Kita hybrid kacuk. Okay, kacuk tumbuhan yang super breed dengan tumbuhan yang lagi satu. So the anak yang kita dapat nanti anak yang hybrid, yang lagi manis, for example, yang tak ada isi, tak ada biji. Tapi itu menggunakan conventional breeding, which our farmers are using nowadays. So dengan adanya teknologi yang lagi baru, lagi canggih, why not we give it a try?
Tapi conventional way tidak menggunakan lebih banyak fund. Mungkin petani dapat membuat, kan?
Betul.
Kalau new technology, macam mana petani nak? I mean in terms of dana lah.
Betul, dana always comes in the first hand. Because when you work with petani, of course, we don't expect the petani to go to the lab and buat everything from the beginning. That is the use of collaboration. Kita work together with the industry. So maybe kita ada researchers yang work dalam makmal. Once dalam makmal, nanti kita akan bawa keluar di mana petani boleh sambung kerja tersebut. Dia bawa ke kawasan peladangan, pertanian. Yeah, that is the use of two ways of relationship. So we use.
Mungkin dalam aspek ini, our state government will also have some what we call that strategy, kan? in terms of helping the villagers ataupun petani yang hendak involved in this particular biotechnology lah.
Betul.
Tapi mungkin mereka masih lagi baru, maybe the penerimaan tu mungkin masih lagi kurang.
Betul, that is the use of awareness now. Kita kena introduce lah, start pergi ke masyarakat and bagi tahu all this, apa kepentingan, kebaikan teknologi yang kita pakai bergantung dengan berbanding dengan teknologi yang dipakai sedia ada. So there is the use of telling them, educate them. So I would say there is a potential in the future, and we are glad that Sarawak, because we are staying in Sarawak, Sarawak pun ada banyak bagi dana kepada our researchers, local institution. Okay, dekat situ kita boleh ambil this as an advantage. Okay, kita ada dana daripada our own stats. Why not kita try? So untuk dengan para petani kat luar sana.
Mungkin perlu dibuatkan bengkel juga kepada para petani.
Betul.
Itu kita ada Institut Pertanian Sarawak kan?
That's the aim actually. Kita nak buat bengkel, nak bagi lebih awareness sebab kita suka berdepan face to face. But because of current situation, so we have to put everything on hold. But we do see this, to put in future, in maybe next year, if the things, if everything settle down, kita akan cuba lagi untuk pergi ke masyarakat and educate.
Yeah, because this will give the impact on socio-economy Sarawak itself to help the community out there.
Betul.
Okay. So dengan konklusi ini tadi, Dr Fauziah Bual R&D, amat berterima kasih dengan kehadiran Dr Fauziah ke studio pada hari ini untuk memberi sedikit sebanyak input terhadap genetic engineering on agriculture.
Yeah.
Meskipun kaedah konvensional masih merupakan sumber majoriti penghasilan tanaman dan makanan di dunia, teknologi moden juga merupakan kaedah yang berpotensi tinggi dan versatile untuk penghasilan bahan makanan pada masa akan datang. Kepentingan teknologi selaras dengan pola perkembangan populasi dunia terhadap permintaan makanan. Saya Qistina Donna Lee Abdullah mengucapkan Assalamualaikum dan salam hormat.